Yeah, like, I mean, my theory on this is like, I don't want to be the biggest. I want to be the best, right? Like, I don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's why I love these restaurateurs, in these big cities. They have these small little spots, but man, but they're the best, They perfect, they don't have a huge menu, right? But they just do it really well.
There should be a tab that's like, I guess it goes off. Hey, welcome to the Son of Egg podcast. We haven't done this in about a year and a half, I think. And today we have a special guest, Alex Monticello.
Monticello.
And I feel like I see your signs everywhere. And I kind of like knew your face before we even met. And we met in an interesting way, but can you kind of tell the people your background and how you ended up in the capital region?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Binghamton, New York, but I ended up moving here, went to law school, and I graduated from law school in 2009, which was not a good year to graduate from law school. As you might remember, 2009 was right after Lehman collapsed and massive layoffs in at law firms and financial industry. And I graduated Albany Law, and it was pretty clear to me that it was going to be hard to get a job. I had a job offer, and they kind of rescinded it. And so it was at that point that I got my real estate broker's license, and didn't really have much experience, but started doing it on the side. So that's how I ended up in Albany and in real estate.
So why real estate, and how did you start your own brokerage, right?
Yeah. So in New York State, if you're a licensed attorney, you can automatically get your own broker's license. So after I got admitted to the New York State Bar and got my real estate license, I was able to get my broker's license by paying a license fee, basically. I think like most people who start a business, one of the things that they benefit from is not knowing anything, being naive. You don't know what you don't know. And in a way that worked to my benefit, because you just kind of figure it out as you go. But I'd always I had some just general interest in looking at homes. But I had a couple of experiences and interactions with some realtors who seemed to be making a living at it, but I thought that perhaps I could provide maybe a slightly better service, and so I thought if they could do it, maybe I could do it, and that's how I jumped in.
I feel like a lot of agents start off like that. They think that you just get your license and it's smooth sailing from there, but I'm sure that's not how it goes.
Well, yeah,
What's your experience?
I think like anything. I mean, restaurant industry or otherwise, it's hard work, and I think really the people who make it and the people who don't. I always say I think the biggest variable or factor in that is just the people who don't give up, the people who just keep going and keep going and keep going.
So it's 12 years now.
Yeah, so I've been doing it 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
So how have things changed, and what do you think? Yeah, can you believe that it's been 12 years? Like, how has that been now that's 12 years looking back?
It's as you mentioned, I don't think about it that often, but as you mentioned it's now been the one career or profession I've had for the longest period of time. But it's changed a lot. I think when I got in 2010, Zillow was a pretty new entity, right? And the concept of what Zillow was offering, both to the consumer and to the real estate agent, was new. And for many years, even after that, there was a lot of resistance in our industry. It certainly has evolved since then, and now we have some amazing technology like Matterport 3D, which didn't exist 12 years ago, with very sophisticated, high quality cameras and software. Even I can go into a home now and scan it with a Matterport camera and generate, digital twins, 3D, three-dimensional renditions of a home or a building, and with high quality, photos. I think the technology has evolved a lot. But at the end of the day, the one thing that hasn't changed is, I think there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to figure out how to replace the real estate agent. And you may remember in the last year, there's been companies like Open Door and even Zillow and Redfin had tried their hand at figuring out how they could buy up inventory and sell inventory and basically cut out the real estate agent. But what's interesting is the one thing that hasn't changed is that it's still incredibly stressful, hard, large financial transaction. That the majority of people who are buying and selling want a trusted advisor, and nobody's comfortable buying and selling homes with the click of a button, like they would be maybe ordering an Uber or ordering an egg sandwich, or even now purchasing a car. Carvana, right, has tried this out. But no company to date has figured out how to replace the agent. And I think, it's always something that we need to be aware of, right? How do we add value as real estate agents in this industry? And I think I try to talk to agents in our office and think about what is the value that we are bringing to the transaction. And there's a great analogy that one of the industry leaders shared probably about 6 years ago now, when there was all this concern about Zillow and them coming onto the scene. And he basically said, look, a good real estate agent is kind of like a Sherpa. They're going to lessen the load. They're going to help, navigate through challenges, and they're going to help manage the stress. And that's really, what a good real estate agent is going to do. Because if you've ever purchased or sold a property, they're not all easy. And when they're not easy, there can be a lot of stress that develops.
For sure. And like you were saying, that personal ability, like having a person that you can just relate to. I feel like even in the restaurant industry, I guess we'll never know how things go, but restaurant industry, I feel like, are often getting replaced by machines. But there's something about going into your local spot and then getting that, because some of these people, especially in the pandemic, I feel like it was their one time during the day that they get this interaction. And especially with real estate, I feel like if you have that person on your team that has your best interest and are looking out for the issues that the house could have that you're looking out for, that the average home buyer, they would not think about checking the window or look at the roof or things like that. I feel like that's so valuable, and I do agree that that's something that can't be really replaced because it's the insight.
Yeah, and there will always. I think there's always a segment of the market, and it's less than 10% that probably figures either because they've done it many times or they've got experience, they can do it on their own, or they might overestimate their abilities and still want to do it on their own, right? But yeah, I think for the majority, I think they agree with your assessment.
So Monticello has perfect ratings. What do you think sets that apart?
Well,
what sets you guys apart?
Again, I think it's about 10 years ago, I was reading this article in the New York Times about buzz agents. And this is maybe more. Maybe it's 15 years ago. Or maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was 20 years ago. I have no long ago. many decades ago, right, there was an article in the New York Times about buzz agents. And this is before social media, before Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter. There were large companies that were hiring people known as buzz agents to basically take their products and share them among their family and friends. And there was a sausage company that had just launched, and they were doing, kind of chicken sausages and unique sausages, and they hired a bunch of buzz agents to go to barbecues, family barbecues, summer barbecues, and start bringing the sausages and talking about it. And a couple things: they had a quality product, and they had a buzz agent working on their behalf. And what happened is these buzz agents were like, they were evangelists for the product. And that was the way some of these companies before social media were able to launch and gain a lot of sales. And I thought of when I started my company and the business, I thought that I wanted every client that I had to be a buzz agent, for Monticello. But in order to do that, they needed to have an experience that exceeded their expectations. So, it's hard, and I don't always meet this, but I'm trying to exceed expectations whenever I can, so that they do write positive reviews. And thank you. The goal is, when they're at a cocktail party or a family barbecue and somebody starts talking about real estate, I want that individual who worked with Monticello to spontaneously become a buzz agent and start sharing the positive experience they have. Because ultimately, I think that's the most effective way to grow your business, right? Is to have hundreds of people out there who are evangelizing, the benefits of your business.
Especially if you don't pay them.
That's right. But you do. You pay them in time, and you pay them in service, and you
Yes.
pay them in love.
But without them, they're doing it on their own.
Correct. I mean, you're making an initial investment on the front end
Yes,
to
definitely.
do it. And,
About the service. And
Justin, I want you to know I evangelize this egg sandwich every time
so we
because
just got the son of egg sandwich.
it is the best egg sandwich I've had. And anybody out there who's talking about egg sandwiches or whatever, I will spontaneously share with them the benefits of this egg sandwich. So I'm your buzz agent for
Thank you.
the son of egg sandwich.
The buzz agent. I never actually heard that term. How did that word come about?
I gotta find the article because I've referenced this now a couple times, and
It's like bees?
yeah, I mean, basically, it's
The
individuals
buzz
who are
getting
buzzing
yeah.
about a product,
Okay.
right?
That makes sense.
And they now with social media, you see it with influencers, right? But
Before influencers.
it was before influencers, before social media. I was really struck by this is a powerful, effective way to spread your message.
For sure. So,
Can we eat?
yeah, you're welcome to eat.
All right. Hopefully, I don't make too much of a mess here.
Are you familiar with the real estate commission show?
I've heard of it. I don't listen to it though.
I actually watched it because my friend was one of the contestants.
That's awesome.
But I was
The show. Sorry, I have
show.
heard the show that was shot in Albany.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yes, I didn't know the faces of most of these brokerage firms.
Right.
But I felt like you could have been on it, but maybe they have their own thing going on. What you have watched the show? You said.
I've seen. I was only able to find it, I think, on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I've watched parts of the episodes, but yeah, I know. Very talented, very successful agents on that show.
Yes. Do you think you could be a judge or?
I don't know. I don't know if my.
It was interesting. The production of it, I felt like you could tell it's new and it was a very novel thing, and I applaud them for doing something very risky like that. And it was during COVID, so
Yeah.
they filmed it and it just got released. But I love the fact that it's local.
Did your contestant make it through? I mean, your friend who was a contestant, did they get chosen or?
Yeah, they were the 16 that were. He was one of the
Ah, that's
16 that was
awesome.
chosen.
That's cool.
And
Is he still in the business?
no,
Ah, so what happened?
uh, they didn't pass their exam.
Oh, all right. Well, that's critical.
So
Yeah.
so the 12 now it's been 12 years. I'm sure it started with you as an agent. Where are you at now, and what do you kind of like specialize in?
Well, um, sorry, the sandwich is good. Um, I do. We have a small brokerage. Have about 20 agents that work with me. And we just do residential sales, right? We work with home buyers and home sellers in the capital region. We have an office in Saratoga, one in Colony, and residential sales. That's it.
Okay. In 2017,
Yeah.
when I was doing some research, you got a Iman Award.
Oh yeah.
What was that about?
So Inman News had it gave us. I think it was more of a nomination. I don't think I was eventually won, but we were nominated as for one of our marketing campaigns. And 2017, we created a bunch of lawn signs that said "Welcome to the neighborhood," and "Welcome" the word was written in about 40 different languages. This was a period of time where you may remember in 2017 when there was a lot of anti-immigrant rhetoric coming out from Washington D.C. And I thought that it was really important to let everybody know that the 518 community was really a welcoming community. And so we kind of crowdsourced this idea and really just put it out there on Facebook and social media and asked for as many submissions as possible. What are the languages that you know and you speak in the 518? And how do you say welcome, right? Because we wanted to make sure we got it right. So we created the lawn signs and basically gave them out for free in the neighborhood to anybody who wanted to let the 518 community know they were a welcoming neighbor.
How many languages did you say?
I think about 40.
Wow.
Which is not obviously all the languages that are spoken in the 518 community, but those are the languages that
were submitted,
right? And so anybody who had a language that was submitted, we put it on there.
That says a lot about this area.
Yeah.
How do you? So you grew up in this area?
I grew up in Binghamton, which is
You
about
said
2
Binghamton,
hours
yes.
south of here.
So what are your thoughts when you think about Albany, Saratoga, the capital region? It's always nice to hear people's opinions.
I joke that growing up in Binghamton, Albany for me is a step up. I think Albany. I moved here when I was 25. I'm now 43. I have 2 kids. I think now I enjoyed it when I moved here in my 20s, but I actually appreciate it even more in my 40s having kids now. I think it's we're fortunate in the sense that even despite the increases in home prices, right, it's a relatively affordable place to raise your family, to own a home, and I think for that reason I really enjoy it. And I think I feel like we're lucky to be here. And there is. I mean, it's also amazing to see the diversity, right? I mean, just the number of Korean restaurants that I've noticed in the last 10 years, right? I don't know, Justin, how long you've been here, but I feel like 10 years ago, I think the number of Korean restaurants you could definitely count on one hand, right?
Still on one hand.
I think maybe 2 hands,
Okay.
right?
Maybe just recently got to 2.
Okay, but they're when you go from 1 to 6, that's progress, right?
It is. So we got someone on our side of believing in this area, because I feel like a lot of the feelings I get of locals that've been here all their life, of course, they kind of have a feeling that they want to get out of here. So to the people that are thinking about moving to Albany or the newcomers, what are the best characteristics you would say about living in this area?
Well, we see it every day, actually, and I think COVID was one of the best reminders of this, and a big catalyst too for the areas. There are a lot of people who moved from big cities to Albany because, yeah, it was, slower pace, affordable place to live, more green space, right? Still our fair share of arts and culture. And, as everybody always jokes, like within 2.5 hours, you can also get to, Manhattan or Boston or Montreal. So, I think it depends on the lifestyle you want to live. But I think as people, I think most people realized when COVID, as you get a little bit older, maybe, and you have children, right? Maybe living in Manhattan is not the ideal place to live, despite everything that Manhattan has to offer. And, there might be periods of time where the 518 community just makes more sense and might be easier to navigate.
But you're saying this out of experience, right? During this last 2 years?
Well, yeah, and the experience being that we saw people, right? I mean, this is not a new phenomenon, and you hear about this around the country. I think Idaho, right, had one of the hottest housing markets in the country is in Idaho, and that's because people from the West Coast who could work remotely decided, yeah, I mean, I can buy a 600 square foot place in San Francisco for $1 million. Or, for $500,000, I can get a house with a couple acres and some space, right? With beautiful scenery and a place for kids to run. And I think we're still seeing that, right? It's not over because of the flexibility of remote working, and because of the fact that we're a relatively affordable housing market amongst some pretty or very, very expensive housing markets. We are still seeing kind of a migration here. And I think there's also a phenomenon for some people. If you talk to the people who have moved out, who have gone to big cities and worked, as they get older into their 30s and have kids, they realize coming back to the 518 makes more sense, right? You're closer to family, and it's an easier place to potentially settle in, especially if you have kids. But yeah.
A person that knows like this area, and when I say the area, like the capital region, so correct me if I'm wrong, the capital region spans from Albany to Saratoga. Okay.
Correct.
So as someone that sells a lot of residential homes in this area, I don't specifically want to ask like where do you live, but where do you think is an attractive area at this point? Or you've seen a lot of growth or some areas that we can highlight maybe that people might not know of?
Yeah, well, what's really exciting to me, and I live in the city of Albany, but I think what's exciting to me is in all of our urban centers, there's just been a lot of development and rebirth. I mean, even the building we're sitting in here, Justin, right? I mean, we're in the city of Rensselaer, across from the train station, and this was an empty building for multiple years, right? So your restaurant is a testament to the investment that homeowners and business owners are making in urban centers, and I think that's really exciting. Whether it's in Albany, city of Rensselaer, Troy, Schenectady. And, despite COVID, there have been some businesses that we've lost. There's also been a lot of new businesses that have started and thrived, which is really exciting to see. So for me, I think the development in the urban centers is really exciting. And it's also apparent to me that the urban centers, and by urban centers, you could even be in not necessarily downtown Albany, but you can be in neighborhoods in Albany, are showing to be attractive to people who have lived out into the suburbs, who might have decided that they don't want to drive as much anymore to the grocery store. They want a house with a sidewalk. They want to be closer to the hospitals. And they don't need, a 3,000 plus square foot house, right, with a giant lot to take care of. They're content with a slightly smaller city lot. in a 2,000 square foot home, where they can kind of walk much easier to a lot of things. So I think that phenomenon is taking place not only among first time home buyers and millennials, but we're seeing it among baby boomers too, which I think is also encouraging.
I like to hear that because a lot of the times people outside of Albany are very, they have like some perspective of Albany, and I feel like it's probably because you're on Reddit or something and you just see only the negative stuff, but all the positive stuff that are going on, I feel like don't get as much recognition as it should, and that's wonderful to hear. And I do agree that a lot of more people are going towards urban areas for
Yeah.
those reasons that you said.
Yep. Um,
And so I saw that you're a big, I would say, internet marketer. What was that from a passion, or what kind of like got you into this? Because you do your own podcast and the 518 Small Biz videos. What kind of got you started?
yeah. I mean, I think the 518 Small Biz video series that we launched. And I'm proud to say we've done over 200 episodes. We're still kind of hobbling along, putting together some episodes. But this was really came out of a talk that I heard from Gary Vaynerchuk, who in 2016 gave a keynote at Inman and basically said, if you're a real estate agent, you should become the digital mayor of your town, right? You should be creating the content for your town. Again, the idea that be a place to add value for your community, and if you can add value and create good content, people will come to you for other reasons too, like buying a house. So that's where it started, and we still are doing this now almost 4 years later.
So it's worked.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worked actually, but I like doing it, and it's a great way to meet other business owners.
Yeah, that means you met 200.
Yeah,
business owners.
but it's funny. I can't say it's generated any business for me, right? And in fact,
Is it because it wasn't measured, or?
well, I mean, I can. In fact, I can name more people I interviewed that didn't use me than did, right? But it doesn't matter, right? I think the reason why I'm doing this really is to create good content, and in a way, I also view it as my way of my small way of giving back a little bit to the 518 community. As long as we can do it and we're profitable and we can kind of invest in this, I'd like to keep doing it. Because it's fun to spotlight and work with other business owners.
For sure. And
Yeah.
I think we started the podcast, and I don't think we knew of each other, but I didn't know too much of the stuff that you were doing. But I always have the perspective that if we're highlighting each other and just creating activity through the area, that it's just a win for everybody.
Right.
Because motivated people that want to do content, or just even our friend, the Around Albany,
Yeah.
Jonah, like he interviewed, like we were like one of the first people he kind of approached, and then like look how much the network and like the page that he's created, and
Yeah.
I'm just like so supportive of anyone that's like doing anything. And if you're a restaurant that goes next door to us, I feel like I never viewed it really as competition, and I think I learned that before I got in the industry. It's kind of if you're both able to bring people to your area, they're actually kind of your allies, as long as the different offerings are different.
Right.
And so I encourage that a lot, and I think this kind of get together of people is very important, and I kind of want to always like shout that out. So where do you see yourself and Monticello in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and I always like to ask this to the guests to see, like after the time passes, where they were and the progress.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I I enjoy what we're doing. I'm not really looking to grow the business significantly. I'd like to have some slow and potentially steady growth, but for me, I mean, I've realized that the most precious commodity is my time and having time with my kids. So to the extent that I can grow the business and create more time for my family, that's really my goal. Um, I don't have these ideas of trying to double my business. If it happens organically and it can do so without consuming more of my time, I'll do it. But I'm also content running the business at the current size we're at, and just trying to do better and better. Um, you know, become more efficient at what we're doing, and better at what we're doing, is good enough for me.
I like that because oftentimes when non-business owners kind of look at business, they're always thinking that the bigger you get, the better you're doing, which is not always the case. Like the efficiency is very important, and the quality of life. Well, you mentioned your kids. Oh, well, and you committed to this area then of raising the kids.
Yeah,
What's your perspective on as a
absolutely,
parent?
absolutely. I mean, we are definitely committed to the area. My son just started kindergarten, and it's doing great. He's in the city schools, Albany city schools, and we couldn't be happier. And yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's a great area, right? It's easy to navigate. There are a lot of activities for kids. It's not. I don't find it too stressful, right? And we have a lot of great educational opportunities, sporting opportunities if the kids end up getting in that direction, or arts and music opportunities. So yeah,
Nice.
we're here. We're here for the long run.
Well, Alex, thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences and perspectives on the capital region. And I think that's it.
Great, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.